with Al-Qaeda, and the FBI has acknowledged that it has no hard evidences to tie Osama to 9/11. If Saddam did not do it, and if Osama did not do it, then who is responsible for the death of more than 3,000 citizens in that day?
Okay. First thing, it wasn't over 3,000.
Yeah,
it
I said
wasn't
more than.
No. It's less. What happened is the numbers were exaggerated. There was about 600 people that were unaccounted for that day, so they jacked up the numbers to 29,000. Literally a year later, it was in the back pages of the newspaper that the numbers for the deaths of 9/11 were considerably off because they were unaccounted for. Like they said they never found the bodies of hundreds and hundreds of people. It turns out that hundreds and hundreds of people that they had just included in the numbers were accounted for. They were not at work. They were out of the country. They showed up later. So the numbers of the dead for 9/11 are greatly exaggerated. It was over 2,000. But there was absolutely an article published that hundreds were eventually accounted for. There was so much chaos during the weeks and the months after 9/11, and there were bodies that were unrecognizable in the rubble, that they just made a number up. They literally made a number up. And a year later, they said that the numbers of deaths in 9/11 were actually quite a bit smaller. And the other thing about it is, who knows exactly who did it, but it was very, very likely the CIA, and most likely. Of course it wasn't Saddam Hussein. Of course it wasn't 3 million Iraqis who were massacred in the process. I mean, and it wasn't Osama. I don't know who's responsible, but it's probably, like everybody said, it's CIA and the Mossad, because it has served their agenda. Netanyahu, I can't say his name, even said shortly afterwards that 9/11 was a very good thing for Israel because it turned all of the international propaganda, it just heightened it against world Islam, world Muslims. All nations of the Islamic faith were
OPEC.
I mean, basically, anybody coming into the United States, Homeland Security targeted you. It didn't matter where you were from. It didn't matter what citizenship you had. If you were Muslim, if you were Islamic, you were targeted. And I don't know. Isn't close to every single person at Guantanamo Bay Muslim? And I don't know what the numbers are there, but many of them were targeted 9/11, and it's very likely 100% of them are completely innocent. Who knows who did it? This, really, honestly, I don't even follow it because I basically think that from day one it was just the CIA, it was just the Mossad. It served a purpose of mass genocide. The numbers of the dead
the call
Americans.
Will be recorded.
What is? Did you hear that voice? The call will be recorded. What was that?
Yeah, I hear that too. I don't know.
Skype
I think this is the recorder of a Skype.
Yeah, the call will.
Say
That's
that
the
now.
second. Huh?
It's legal business. The Skype cover their calls being recorded every so often.
That's okay, Teresa. Go on, please.
Okay, I don't even remember what I was talking about except for that. That it was a military agenda. I mean, who knows exactly who did it precisely, but it's a military agenda of the CIA and the Mossad, number one. I mean, what I was saying is that Basically, it is the 1%. The numbers of the Americans killed was greatly exaggerated. It wasn't even close to 3,000. That's a fact. And the numbers of the dead in Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan and Palestine and everywhere was greatly underestimated, when in fact it's been millions. This is organized genocide.
Michael Gaul.
Yeah.
After 9/11, the U.S. initiated a huge surveillance on different aspects of lives of American citizens. Would it be an effective and justified step to prevent terrorism or not?
Well, I'm hoping I gathered the most of your question the best, you know,
Should
well,
I
well
repeat
enough.
it again?
I think, yeah, sure.
Okay. After 9/11, the U.S. initiated a huge surveillance on different aspects of lives of American civilians. Would it be an effective and justified step to prevent terrorism or not?
No, not at all. All they did with, I understand now. Yeah, the one of the biggest things I think was the Patriot Act, and all that is encroachment on the Fourth Amendment right to privacy. Naturally, they try to justify it, but the reality is, you know, it's like everybody else has said. It's again an attempt to try to point the finger of blame somewhere else. You know, and say, well, we need to do this. We have to protect you from yourselves. No, I don't need anybody to protect me from myself,
Right.
except me. So, all they've
Exactly.
done, you know, is bolster their own agenda. It's an agenda of the 1% who own the governments. They own the largest militaries, and they use them as their grunts and thugs to enact, you know, dominance over all these other countries. And of course, in the process, well, Afghanistan, all they had was opium poppies. Let's see, Saddam Hussein's Iraq, oil, and a lot of the other ones. I mentioned earlier something about someone was saying something about the agenda, and I said, yeah, well, it's all the countries that are the OPEC nations that produce the oil. And it's all about stealing oil and gold and anything else of value. We spent, the United States, what, a decade or more in, well, not only Vietnam, but Korea. And the reality is, they probably learned from those that, well, these weren't really beneficial wars for us because there wasn't anything to steal. What did they have? Rice paddies? They didn't have the smarts to know how to steal, you know, marijuana, and market it. Although it's funny, they do possess, evidently the patent is for marijuana as medical, you know, and they talk out of both sides. You know, Uncle Scam the Sham will talk out of both corners of his mouth at the same time. They'll sit there and say, well, it has no medicinal value, and yet they hold patent on it as medicine. Now that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And to answer the question, no, all they haven't, you know, it's pretty obvious that, you know, we know the answer to the question before we even think about trying to answer it. All they've done is push their own agenda as far as creating, you know, a prison population state of the world where the 1% rule over the 99%, and that's why the middle class is gone. There's no middle class anymore because they've already, you know, they've already sponged and sucked all the life and blood out of us. So we're all poor now, you know. It just, you know, honestly, they weren't trying to protect anybody from anything except to produce what the New World Order wanted all along anyway, and that was, you know, to basically enslave the 99% of the population, and of course reduce it by, what, 5 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
We all know those answers, I think.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think Manuel left us because he had to go somewhere, or is he back again? I have to wait for him.
How long does the call run?
Are you running late, Michael?
No, I imagine I'll be off before I have to leave for work. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's going to be ended.
Okay.
Thank you.
And is it weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or?
It is supposed to be monthly, but we're having another one about Yemen next week, almost.
Okay, yeah. I don't know much about Yemen, so I don't know that I'd be much help.
Okay, we have different subjects, and you can take part in the future conferences.
Great, great, yeah.
Okay, I was trying to take Manuel again. I'm sorry.
But I just need to give a little piece of notice for everyone here that
Yes, Ali.
while others, it's just only about the talking in the conference. That while others are talking, the rest of the members should actually mute their microphones, because
Exactly,
that actually,
that's the best thing to do. Because
yeah,
the sound
that
reflects in the others' microphones.
Exactly. That's what I do. For example, in here, sometimes I sneeze and suddenly it totally changed all the process of talking.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to the next question.
Let's go for Nathan if Manuel is not.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask Nathan. Nathan, are you still there?
Because Nathan
Sorry,
has
I
been
muted you guys. I took the advice of Ali and I muted the call. But I'm here.
No problem.
Good.
No problem. I'm just
Nathan,
watching you.
Nathan, still there are many signs and evidences that show CIA and radical Islamists like Osama bin Laden were historically connected. Doesn't it hold U.S. government responsible for its own wrong acts?
I think it does. And I think the administration's in power right now. They do a lot of finger pointing just to create confusion and to postpone justice longer. I think there's going to be a time coming soon as people rise in their conscious awareness of what's really happening on the planet, and the lies that they're feeding us just don't add up to the reality that we're seeing. And I think sooner or later there's going to be a critical mass amongst the people where something's going to happen where we just won't accept their lies anymore, and we will demand the truth. And I think the best way to do this is not by holding a grudge or hating somebody for something that was done, but looking for justice for the lives that were lost and for the innocents to stop suffering. I think a lot of us can get caught up in the idea that these people are evil and we should hate them, but this is a part of their game as well, because they're perpetuating anger and hatred to the masses, and we're getting caught up in this, and we need to look towards more of justice and unity. That way their false flags and their processes of divide and conquer won't work on a unified globe, and people that are truly connected in friendship and care about each other and look for the best of each other and the planet.
Thank you.
And it's backfiring.
Yeah, exactly. We can make it backfire because we won't get so caught up in the hatred that they're trying to make us get caught up in, and we can instead seek justice through love for each other.
Yes, true. Thank you, Nathan.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to ask the last question from Michael Opperskalski, but all of you can answer after Michael answers.
Okay.
Michael, do you think that ongoing issues like Syria and Yemen are also a part of the that initiated plan on September 2001?
I think briefly I mentioned it at the very beginning. What's happening now, and this is a dangerous red line which I was talking about several times, that started even before 9/11,
Right.
and was an answer to the victory of the Islamic Revolution in Iran to 9/11. This goes on till up today, the rule of Daesh and the disintegration of whole states in the Middle East, the trying to topple the governments in Iraq, the trying to completely disintegrate Iraq, the now attempts to